Barcelona is going to be starting their second revolution on May 19th because that is going to be the day where their plan is going to be approved by La Liga. And that plan does consist of many things. The first thing that will happen once it does get approved is the renewals will be registered. So players like Gavi, Araujo, Dembele, they want to extend Dembele until like 2027 or 2028. Those players are going to be prioritized first to make sure that they are in the first team, obviously. And like I said, guarantee the renewals because they do deserve it. The second thing they will be doing during this plan, after they finish those objectives, is to start shipping out certain players. So like Sergio Busquets is going to be leaving. Jordi Alba is also potentially going. Lenglet is also going to be leaving permanently because remember, Lenglet is on loan. Tottenham has told Barcelona they want to sign this player permanently. So they're going to be letting go of Lenglet, Alba, Busquets. They also might potentially let go of Ferran Torres, Rafinha. And then once they do have those exits take place, then they will begin the next process and the next phase, right, of signing certain players. The players that all of us have been discussing for so many times in this YouTube channel, which is going to be Messi, Gundogan, Vitor, Inigo Martinez, and much, much more. And to Barcelona, the first player they want to sign after they are finished with the renewals and the exits, it is going to be Lionel Messi. They do think that Messi is the most important and the most strategic move this summer. And that, my friends, is going to be the plan. And this is according to Sport. So if you guys are wondering, when did Barcelona even have their first revolution? That first revolution did happen back in the summer of 2022 when they brought in players like Koundé, Lewandowski, Christensen, Kessié, and many other players. Because by the time we started this season that we're in currently, we look like a completely different team. But now it does seem like after Barcelona have assessed all the weaknesses that we saw this season, they're like, okay, we have a young squad, we have rejuvenated this team, but now I feel like we need to add more veterans into the squad. And I know that doesn't make a lot of sense because we always wanted to have a young team, and the whole point of rejuvenating this team is to let go of the veterans. But I believe that Xavi Hernandez is saying, okay, look, we're going to introduce new veterans, but veterans that have tremendous technical quality, players that have been there and done that, players that always compete at the highest level. We need those type of veterans, not veterans that don't experience high competitive football every season. So that is why Barcelona and Xavi Hernandez are looking at players like Gundogan, because they're always in the conversations of being in the quarterfinals or in the semifinals or in the finals of the Champions League, and he's always in the top 3 in the Premier League. Same thing with Messi. We know how dominant and how competitive Messi is. Same thing with Inigo Martinez, one of the top captains for that club, and that club, Athletic Club, have been doing so amazing this season. So like these 3 players, for example, they have elite mentality and at the same time they have high technical capability. And so when you mix players like that with players like Gavi, Pedri, Alejandro Balde, and all of these young players, you have an elite team, my friends. And that is what Xavi Hernandez is aiming for. So I do think that next season we will be seeing a completely different team. I strongly think though that we're going to be seeing a very similar starting 11 to what we see today. We might see maybe just a few little tweaks like Messi coming in and Amrabat. But when it comes to the whole squad, like the bench, right? The whole squad is going to look very different. We will be having a strong starting 11 and a very strong bench, which is what Barcelona have always been aiming for. So this is what's going to lead us towards the conversations of Lionel Messi. What is the latest regarding this player? And then we're also going to be talking about the latest on the central defensive midfield position, because man, let me tell you, is there so many updates about this position. Ever since Sergio Busquets announced that he will be leaving, like dude, like everybody's just moving so fast, and we're hearing so many different opinions on how Barcelona should handle this problem. So we're going to be talking about all of this in this video. And so let's start with Messi. And it says here, according to Luis Mascaro, Barcelona have begun working to finalize the offer they plan to send to Messi. All departments of the club are working in the event of a return. Xavi is convinced Messi will be perfect for his project. So the deal is almost closed. I do believe that La Liga and Barcelona have already had so many negotiations, so many conversations about Messi's return. I do think that there is a 99% chance that this will definitely happen based off what we have heard. And I'm very confident, right, that once PSG is done with their season, I do think that Barcelona will announce, and even Messi himself will announce, that Messi's return is going to be happening. I just don't see Messi saying, I'm going to go to Barcelona. There's already a verbal agreement with all parties, or I don't see Barcelona ever announcing that Messi is going to be returning during the time that PSG is trying to complete their season. They're not there yet. The last game that PSG is going to be playing will be held on June 3rd, which will be on a Saturday. And so I do think that that following Monday, which will be on June 5th or June 6th, that is where I do expect for Barcelona to say Messi will officially become a Barcelona player again. And just to give you guys like some updates on my whole thoughts about how we could see Messi in the squad, it's going to look something like this. I think that we will be playing in a 3-4-3 with a box in the middle, or it could be a diamond. I have no idea, because I have heard so many things about like Xavi maybe using a diamond midfield or a box midfield. We'll see. But in the end, it's going to look something very similar to this. We're going to be having Balde and Dembele on the wings with Lewandowski as a striker. Our interiors being Messi, Pedri. Our double pivot being Amrabat and Frankie, and then our back three being Kunde, Araujo, and Christensen. A team like this can be monumental. This is a Champions League winning side. It's just that we have to play as a team. The most important thing going into the next season is to play as a collective, play as a unit. You look at how Man City has been playing through this season. We need that type of chemistry, that type of hard work, that type of understanding reinstilled back into this Barcelona team. Like their culture has to change. And I know that Xavi Hernandez is working hard on that because it's not easy. And it's just going to be so interesting because most likely we're also going to be seeing a 4-4-2 in defense. So we will be seeing Alejandro Balde go all the way back, complete the 4-man defense with Pedri, Frankie, Amrabat, and Dembele becoming the second line of defense. And then the top two that will be sitting at the top, very similar to how Luis Suarez and Messi did back in 2018 and 2019. They will be up there and right in front of the midfield and defending a 4-4-2. And then when they go on to attack, they will form a 3-2-2-3. I'm very confident that Xavi Hernandez will be using something like this because you keep the pace on the wings and you're also going to be having a rock solid central defensive midfielder in front of the defense. Can you imagine how hard it is going to be for any player to get through that type of defense, and let alone an animal like Amrabat? And then you also do have the clever players playing between the lines, which is going to be held by Messi and Pedri, because those are going to be the top two players that will be able to find those killer passes. So it's a lot of things to project. And this is why I do say that if you are a Barcelona fan, please be very excited. I want you guys to be happy. I want you guys to be enthusiastic about how we're going to be tackling next season, because we are going to be having one hell of a season. And now let's move on towards the central defensive midfield position, because if you guys do see here on the picture, you can see that Amrabat is in the starting 11, because I do assume that he will be a Barcelona player. And so let's talk about that, right? Because look, there has been huge demand coming from Xavi saying that he wants Zubimendi. You can look all over Twitter and you can see that Xavi Hernandez is saying, hey, Joan Laporta, I want you to sign Zubimendi. I want you to make the effort. I think that this could be a player that could replace Sergio Busquets. Not completely, but he is the closest thing to Sergio Busquets. And here is what's so strange, right? I don't know if this is a coincidence or not, but ever since Sergio Busquets announced that he was going to be leaving, that is when we started to hear the news about Zubimendi wanted by Xavi Hernandez. So I don't know, it's kind of like, did Xavi think that Sergio Busquets was going to be continuing for another season? Which is why we always heard that Amrabat is going to be coming into this team and play right next to Sergio Busquets, or maybe be a lone pivot, or maybe even a backup to Sergio Busquets. Because now that Sergio Busquets told Xavi that he will be leaving, all of a sudden Amrabat is not in the conversation about coming to this squad. Now Xavi Hernandez all of a sudden wants Zubimendi. So is Xavi thinking like, oh, okay, now that I'm going to be losing Sergio Busquets, I don't want Amrabat no more. I want Zubimendi because he brings the technical power. And if we lose Sergio Busquets, obviously we lose the technical power on the ball. And so yes, bring me Zubimendi. And I can understand that, right? Because I feel like that is what Xavi is thinking, because with Busquets out, you lose a lot of things. You lose a player that knows how to organize play. You lose a player that knows how to counter press. And then like, again, like all of this feels like one big coincidence. Like Zubimendi even had an interview and he was saying that he would love to play with Lionel Messi. Now he did also say that he's happy at Sociedad and that he wants to grow there, and that this type of news about him potentially going to Barcelona makes him feel very uncomfortable. But of course he's going to be saying that. Like he's not going to be saying that he would like to go to Barcelona when he just renewed and they're currently trying to fight to stay in the top 4 of La Liga. He's not going to be saying any of that. But again, it feels like a very strong correlation towards Zubimendi coming to Barcelona only because Sergio Busquets will be leaving. I want to make that very clear, because I don't know if Busquets' exit is going to be changing the plans about how we are going to be arranging the midfield, because I want Amrabat to come in more than anybody else. Because with Zubimendi, we're talking about a player that is going to be costing more than Kunde, costing more than Lewandowski, costing more than Rafinha. He's probably going to go down as the most expensive signing that Barcelona have made within the past 3 years from today. As a matter of fact, Zubimendi is going to be such a huge investment. It has also been said that Xavi Hernandez will be having a choice, and it's going to be this. Xavi has to make a decision on whether the club should try to make an effort in Zubimendi. He will be costing around 60 million euros, or go for Foyth, who will be costing 54 million euros. So originally, Barcelona had the capability to sign Amrabat because he was so cheap, and also sign Foyth. But because Zubimendi is now in the conversation, now because he is most wanted, now you're only allowed to choose one player. If you're going to be talking about Zubimendi, it's either going to be Zubimendi or Foyth. We can't do both. And so look, Amrabat for me is the better option. Obviously, I don't know more than Xavi Hernandez, but by the looks of it, I just think that he can provide much better quality, because on the ball, he's very solid. Like, I don't understand this agenda about people saying Amrabat is not a good player because he does not have good on the ball quality. qualities? I think that he does. I think that if you really analyze Amrabat and what he brings, he's great at long ball distributions, he's great at short passes, he's great at laying off passes to the wingers. Like if you compare Amrabat to Busquets, of course you're going to be seeing the massive downgrade. But just because a certain player is not at the level of Sergio Busquets, it does not mean that we should be denying that player. It's kind of like saying, no, we're not going to be using Lamine Yamal on the right wing because he's not Lionel Messi. It just doesn't make any sense. How are we going to move forward as a team? This does sound very similar to what happened back in 2014, right, with Rakitic and Barcelona. When Barcelona were going for Rakitic, everyone was saying, how can Rakitic replace Xavi Hernandez? Rakitic has no ball control. He's not really good at passing and blah, blah, blah. Like they were saying a bunch of things. They were like, we shouldn't get Rakitic. We should get Juan Mata. Juan Mata plays much more like Xavi Hernandez. And look what ended up happening in the 2014-2015 season. Rakitic ended up being one of the best midfielders in the world without becoming the most technical player in the world. And so I do also see Amrabat as like a Mascherano type of player, which is why I want him here. He covers a lot of ground. He would die to defend his team, and he'll do whatever it takes to stop the fastest player that they're going up against. Like I can already imagine either Vinicius or Grealish or Rashford, whoever we face next season, and Amrabat being very comfortable defending those hasty players. We need a player like that more than ever because the game is changing. And going back to that 11 that I did form with Amrabat, there's a reason why I placed Amrabat right behind Lionel Messi, because when you have a midfielder that cannot really press as much as they used to, or cannot really track back as much as they used to, which is Messi, you're going to need to complement that with a player that is a monster in pressing, a monster in tracking back, which is why Amrabat will be the perfect player to back Messi in case we ever lose the ball in the midfield and they want to counterattack us. If you put Zubimendi in that position and we're being counterattacked and Messi loses the ball or Pedri loses the ball, we'll be screwed. So those are going to be my thoughts. And it says here, according to Tony Juan Marti, Amrabat's price is going to be around 20 to 25 million euros. And Fiorentina promised the player about facilitating a summer move to FC Barcelona, meaning that they're going to make it very easy for the player and for Barcelona to make this happen because they put him at a very cheap price, and also they're willing to not demand so much up front in terms of payments coming from Barcelona. So that is going to be wrapping up today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.